Good morning, folks. Welcome again. I'm Joe Wesley of the Joe Wesley and Lizzy Gabor team, you might say. For those who are coming to us for the first time, welcome. Thank you for joining us. For those of you coming back a second or third or fifth time, even more, thank you for seeing the value we really want to provide for you. Those who know our program know we start a little bit early in terms of time. Got to check my email here. Everything is live, by the way. And the concept being that Lizzy is a right brain phenomena, a wellness coach, a certified yoga instructor. I'm a pure left brain kind of guy that I almost like a Spock light syndrome, and it's got to make logic and reasoning sense to me. So I have a challenge making any sense out of this, what I call yin and yang stuff. And the purpose of this, before we go to the purpose, let me do a commercial break. That we start early because to give you some backstory of what we're all about. But remember, you can look at us, if not at 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern, you can look at us anytime you want on the replay. And you can do it through YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. I would ask, even Google, not even Google, Google's a big company, also Google. I do ask that when you look at us, sign into your YouTube version through Google, because that's the only way you can leave comments, because we really want your comments however you look at us. Your questions, your thoughts, your agreements, your disagreements. Remember to share us also with your friends and subscribe, because we want to let you know the upcoming topic. And we do what we call micro topics. And the current micro topic is clutter. How to replace it with better value, as Lizzy would say. And we try to use the theme of the moment, the calendar. It's springtime. So what better way to clean up your environment by using the spring cleaning as a part of clutter syndrome? And normally Lizzy is here. She's having some technical difficulties, so we'll see if she gets on or not. But I'm here, so we'll continue this program. Again, any questions, please feel free to holler out to us. The concept here is that I understand this. You can have people who've taught you maybe in your current lifestyle, perhaps your past lifestyle, you're not worth crap. You're not even worth the air that I breathe in syndrome. And if you've had that as a part of your lifestyle, it can, put it mildly, get in the way of who you are, where you are. There's no surprise that people who say that may not be saying it because they have your best interests in their hearts, in their minds. To me, it's a sense of control. And I think many people are inclined to control one way or the other, be a passive, aggressive, however it works. My thing is, as a counterpoint to what Lizzy may or may not say, we'll see how that goes, is that she talks in mindfulness. What you have to do is to set your mind to a certain state of awareness, and from that, then things will progress. And to me, it's not like turning a light switch on. If it were that easy, then why aren't all of us doing it, or buying a box of cereal and take out the prize and make it happen? There's got to be a challenge, I would think, a process. And certainly if most of your lifestyle, let me say this differently. I bought my wife for one of her birthdays a little while back. I bought her basically a wool coat, really stylish, mid-thigh of sorts, button format, 2 nice pockets on either side, and it had a parka. And the coat itself was a black coat, stylish. And the parka had not a fur trim, a artificial rabbit-like fur trim around the edges. I said, what a match. That's the kind of person that my wife is, that she likes cute things. It's warm. I'm thinking the more the pragmatic or practical side of it, and I bought it for her, really proud about it. But the first thing that I noted when she liked the coat, by the way, and the first thing I noticed, however, when she put the coat on and pulled the hood up and then dropped it, all of a sudden these hairs of light color getting stuck. I didn't say black coat, which is exactly what it was. It was like just grabbing to her coat all over the place. And it clings. And the process now is when she's going to go out in that car, it's too nice to toss, but it's a pain in the rear end. And the point I'm making here is that when she goes out, we have to have at least one or two lint rollers. I don't have one on spot. You have to roll up and down and then take your hands and wipe. And the point I'm making here is that external things are clingy to who you are. And if it's been a lifestyle of your existence, it is really embedded in your environment. And to me, it takes some effort. You can do one of two things. You might say, it's going to cling, I'll live with it, I guess. I can't imagine a woman saying that. A guy might be more inclined to say that. But having made that point, that I firmly believe it's a problem, it's a challenge. You can look at it either way. As a kid, how many times did I hear my mother say to me, clean your room, it's messy, it doesn't look good. I happen to disagree with her. More likely I didn't even think about it. And to get her approval, to get privileges, I had to clean the room. That was part of the process. So that's one example. But we have just a string of family, of teachers. In class, I remember they used to seat us by how well you did on your class, your exams. So those who scored better on the examination got to sit in the front of the room. And those who didn't do so well in the most recent exam sat in the back of the room. And it was a rotational format. Now, there were some that were more inclined to be toward the front. There were some very much inclined to be more toward the back. And I still have the imaginary spitballs hitting me in the back of my head more than I care to admit. But again, it's a sense of external validation. And that's just a few examples. Family, friends, to get a promotion on the job. We, the company, think you've done a good job and we're going to reward you for that. So external validation is nice. It's appropriate at times, certainly. But it can sometimes, I can see you can begin to rely on it, perhaps. You may not have a choice if you're brought up in certain household environments or certain job environments. I get all of that. So it's a mixture. And I can't say what Lizzy would say, how to work through that. But I think perhaps part of the concept might be it becomes so much a part of who we are, who I am, who we are. It becomes ingrained in us. And we cease to think about it. We take it for granted. It's a way of life. So back to this coat again, it's at least 4 to 5 years old. It still sits in the closet every winter before we cycle it out for the warm weather environments. And says, well, it's going to have hair to it, clinging to it, and that's what it's going to be about. So we won't wear it to maybe the nicer events. Maybe we wear it to a football game. The nice coat might be more appropriate to that. And it seems that we work more to accommodate these validations, external concepts, and we actually work to make that coat spiffier. Now, I'm not suggesting we cut the fur trim off, the fake fur trim off. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I think the point I'm making is it can be a challenge. If you're going to talk about a spring cleaning to remove the external validations that are holding you back, you may not even be aware of it. It may again be a part of your accepted lifestyle with what you're living with. So if I'm hearing this concept of mindfulness, and we're talking right now, this is Lizzy and our 73rd presentation of sorts, although I'm doing a solo for the moment. And for those who are coming in a little bit late, yes, is the Joe Wesley, Lizzy Gabor experience. Lizzy's having some technical difficulties getting on, so I'm covering solo. That the topic today is about external validation. And I think, quite frankly, it's very clingy. It's not something you can readily toss. But I suspect that people may not be happy with waiting for validations externally to fall on them. They may feel that they have no choice, perhaps better put. And I can imagine Lizzy might saying, and she'll correct me on this when she's on, that you have to first be aware internally. And I think that's the mindfulness concept. It does stick in my head, you might say. Because if you're going through life in a remote manner, And one of her favorite phrases is you want to proactively respond to your environment rather than react, like somebody hits your knee and your foot kicks out and spills everything over. That in that awareness, you might say, I'm not happy about this environment that I'm in. Many people, I would imagine, might feel lost, may feel clueless, may feel they have no choice in the matter. And I can understand that too. So I don't have a solution. That's not what I'm advocating or talking about or sharing my confusion about. But what I do understand, many of us tend to forget that we have positive things about ourselves that the other people, person, whomever, may not mention. Perhaps we hold a job well. Not many people can do that. Not everybody can do that. Many people do. Maybe the boss appreciates your value, perhaps, or your coworkers. I do find many people who I speak with, they sometimes enjoy their jobs, not because it makes them feel important, I was about to say, but they have the ability to feel important because it's not what the world makes you feel. That's the external validation side of it. It's how you feel as a result of it. So perhaps it's your job. It may not be at large. You may have a coworker. Maybe it's not your coworkers. Maybe it's a client that thanks you for what you're doing. It was a person you meet. If you're providing a phone customer service format, maybe it's somebody who thanks you for the time you spent being of help for them or value for them. And these are people who don't know you, who don't have any baggage with you or history with you one way or the other. But I think certainly if you can understand, recognize that you have some options to have your own validation of how you are. It could be your kids who feel very good about what you've done for them, or your best friend, perhaps, or your parents or your family members. So my concept of it, I'm not saying this is an issue of being mindful or not, perhaps. It's certainly an issue of being aware. And there's no utopia no matter where you look at life, but I would like to believe, and certainly it kind of works for me, that if I can do something that I feel good about, maybe that's the key factor here. And yes, it's nice to have someone say, Joe, thank you for the effort. Even nicer if they say, nobody's ever made this effort before. I really appreciate this. And by the way, this goes both ways, folks. If you're on the consumer side of it or the outside side of it, if somebody does something for you that you appreciate, make a comment about that. It intrigues me. We are so quick to complain as a people. I don't like this. You didn't do that well. You botched that up. I get that. You may be more right than that. But we seemingly don't make the same effort of thanking somebody, praising somebody who's done more than the usual and customary. I go to a restaurant sometimes, and the only time the waiter or waitress will speak to me, and now they're busier because there's a shortness of people, I get that. But the only time they smile perhaps is as they give me the receipt. Thank you very much for coming. Other people, they'll come back. Would you like more coffee? Would you like more water? Can I clear the table for you as opposed to come and just grab? I see you're still eating. Is it okay if I take the plate now or not? These are small courtesies, which some people may take for granted. I appreciate it, and I'll thank them for it. And I go out of my way to thank them for it. And to me, it's like giving forward. It's like you're driving your car, and now the law is that in New York anyway, New Jersey certainly, California, I guess, if that pedestrian stops in the lane, you stop by law. It makes sense. Well, if I'm more proactive. If I see somebody approaching like they're going to walk, I don't check to see if they're not quite in the street lane yet. I'm still going to zing through. I'll pause and say, no, go ahead through. And they'll thank me for it. My hope is that I get the same courtesy. So part of validation, I think, is not just the recipient of the less than nice things in their lives. It's perhaps the giver that, no, my life is not perfect, it's not utopic, I'm far from being an ideal human being. But if I can share a positive feeling or thought or acknowledgement to somebody who's gone out of their way to make what I believe to be an extra effort, I'm going to give forward to that person and say, I thank you for what you've done, for your courtesy. It could be something as simple when I'm out in the checkout lane and the person will ask, would you like this double bagged? Some, a gallon of milk, 2 bottles of soda, heavy stuff, a watermelon, all this same bag. That bag's going to tear no matter what if you don't double bag it. Some people will anticipate the heaviness and do it for me. I will always, always, always say thank you for double bagging. That's a good example, I guess. Or, for example, my eggs, keep them separate. Most places do by nature. I don't trust myself when I shop, so I put all my things that need to be refrigerated in a packet together if I'm self-bagging, and the canned goods somewhere else, because I'll forget that chicken at the bottom of the can of tomatoes and peas and whatever else. There are baggers, the cashiers, they will deliberately bag all the quote stuff together because they're thinking. And everything else goes someplace else to double bag without having to ask. These are people I say thank you. So we're talking about dealing with external validations. It's not just the recipient, it's also the giver. So I think it works both ways. Go out of your way if you could to thank somebody for what you believe to be extra courtesy and value. And the hope is people will thank you for what you've done. And you might not be aware it's something nice. But if you're going to develop some sense of mindfulness, awareness, I guess as Lizzy would say, it would be very helpful that you do nice things. You can do, you will do. And no, for whatever the other people would say that you're not this, you're not that, they don't know what they're talking about, because I know I'm worth far more than what you give me value for, because it's self-value to me. Hope this makes sense. If it doesn't or does, let me know. I'm Joe Wesley of the Joe Wesley Lizzy Gabor environment. Have a good week. We'll see you again next week. Take care.